Let's start with the port strike. Were you surprised that a deal was struck yesterday? Did it surprise you? And then we need to talk about what they're holding out for.
Exactly. So I was thrilled that it was paused or suspended. People think it's done. It's not. But, isn't it magical what a Costco run on toilet paper can do for politics?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you sent me pictures of your local Costco, and I don't know what it is about human nature, but why toilet paper? I don't get that. I mean, if you're gonna hoard something, I don't, you know.
Honestly, so people in college right now, if you're working on your thesis, like definitely use that. Like I should have done that in college for my, PhD thesis because why is it toilet paper? I don't get it.
That I think there's nothing that would be funnier for a PhD thesis than that title.
I think it should be me.
It should be you. You should write a paper on toilet
I'd make
paper.
it work.
On toilet paper.
So to answer your question, was I surprised? I didn't think it would end this quickly. But again, we are in an election year, and I truly think this would have been kind of the end of the unions if this wasn't resolved quickly. And I think they knew that they were polling badly. Because look at the fear in the U.S. consumer. I mean, you and I, like, we talked about this on, gosh, what was it? Wednesday, Friday, and then I was on the air Tuesday about the VP debate,
Yep.
and people were already hoarding then.
Yeah.
So Americans know that there's no one minding the store. And so when you start seeing hoarding behavior like this is when you know the consumer is scared.
So let me ask you a question about the industry, because when we saw the supply chain issues in during COVID, it taught us lessons about making sure that we're manufacturing chips here in America, and we know with Taiwan and what's going on with China, but the supply chain issue and how it interrupted all these industries, about the manufacturing of antibiotics and some other things that we had done so much overseas. We learned a lesson for national security that we need to start doing some of these things here. Are there lessons that the industries are learning now that this shipping shutdown could have been catastrophic, or is it just the nature of it? There is really no other way of doing it.
Well, it's funny that you say that because a lot of the US companies that were saying they were impacted really use West Coast ports. So this is more of a US issue. I don't think this was so much of an international issue. But the winner in all of this would have been China. And that's the frightening thing and the scary thing is that they would benefit the most from, the United States kind of chasing its tail, which is really what was happening. And again, let me reiterate, Mike, this is only a temporary fix. This is a Band-Aid until January. And in January, we're going to have potentially a different regime in the White House. So I think they're kind of like putting a Band-Aid on it until there's a new person to negotiate with, is my own personal opinion.
And so the negotiation there, the sticking points, is it largely about technological advances and making sure people are not being replaced by technology? Is that the big sticking point that's still left?
Yes. And I think it's very interesting because you really can't fight technology. And when you do, that's a losing battle. So I think it would behoove this union and the ILA to show how they are producing without technology to really kind of show me the money, if you will, without it, because look at Amazon. They would be nowhere without automation and robots running around that plant. So I don't think you can fight this. So they're going to have to literally kind of prove their worth without technology. I think that will be a huge sticking point for them.
Yeah, even something more simple like the fast food industry with the raising of wages and the other things. The fast food industry has gone through automated drive-through kiosks when you go into the store. They're showing that automation is replacing people in that industry as well, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. There's so many fast food industries that they're implementing AI and automation, et cetera, and robots. And, it's just kind of, the wave of the future, and you really can't fight technology. So when you do that, you kind of come up short. So I feel that's a losing battle for them and kind of obtuse.
Kristin Bentz is joining us. She's with KB Advisory Group. She is a retail analyst and has spent her career predicting and advising Wall Street on what the retail world is doing. Let's talk about 254,000 jobs in the month of September. Right off the bat, what did you see in these numbers?
Well, isn't that convenient, Mike? Isn't that convenient before the election that things start turning around? Now, I love good news, and you and I were talking about eventually we're going to have good news to talk about. So the port strike being suspended is welcome news. These jobs numbers, if they're real, are welcome news. I think the majority was in healthcare. You can break that down for me. I think you have all the stats in front of
Yeah.
you. But I think it's a good place to be. I'm hoping that this is an accurate number. Typically, jobs numbers have been revised for, my gosh, I don't even know how many quarters. So I'll take it. I will definitely take it on a Friday. I think it's great news, and I hope that we are in for a soft landing. I think it'll be a bumpy ride, but you know me, I'm an iconoclast.
Well, you've also been the one that has pointed out in the jobs that we've watched over the last few years, many of the jobs that have been created. And when you talk about the low unemployment rate, that there's a lot of people that are working more than one job. Are we seeing a transition out of that? Are these more career-oriented full-time jobs?
Unfortunately, we're not. I mean, the bulk of these jobs are part-time jobs because people truly, and if you really want to know what's happening in the economy, just take an Uber, talk to your Uber driver, and they'll tell you. They're teachers, they're lawyers, they're doctors, and this is their side hustle. So they have their 9 to 5, and then they're doing this on the side. So we're still in that mode of triage because inflation has really impacted the economy. And so, when you saw this hoarding behavior, there's a reason why that's happening because people are already not, meeting their needs for their household. And then something like this, a glitch in the system or a glitch in the matrix will really affect you. And I think we're seeing that in real time. So I hope we are getting out of the woods. It's been a very rough time. I know so many friends of mine in finance and in tech have been unemployed for 8 to 10 months now, and the jobs just aren't there. So this was welcome news, and I hope we see more of it.
What's interesting is when I'm looking at these numbers, the massive number of these jobs were in the service industry. Food and drink establishments rose by 69,000. Manufacturing payrolls actually declined by 7,000. That's a
Exactly.
That's a mixed message, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And so, Donald Trump always likes to say that we make a lot of things in this country. We're going to make a lot of beautiful things in this country.
Right.
We haven't actually in the last 4 years been making a lot of stuff in this country. We need to. So I came from the service sector. I came out of retail. So I'm hoping that all of these jobs and those of you that are in the service sector, no tax on tips. I hope this is working out for you. I hope that people are eating and drinking and going out because for a long time, preparing food at home or going out became the same thing because they were both so expensive.
Right.
So that's a great sign. Those are, that's a ray of hope if, we're seeing folks in that sector getting hired.
Well, Kristin, as always, it's great to talk with you. Look forward to having you back in studio and back in the building, and have a great weekend.
You too. Thanks so much, Mike.
All right. That is Kristin Bentz joining us for just a few moments.
Thanks for watching the Mike Broomhead Show. Tap to watch the first season of Amazing Arizonans, a KTAR News podcast. You can also click the button in the middle to subscribe.